member, and Democrat Brad Sherman. And we have Republican from Ohio, Jim Jordan. He's the chair of the Republican Study Committee. Welcome, gentlemen. Jim Jordan, what do you make? Jim Jordan, what do you make of what Bernanke is? Bernanke saying call off the Biden talks, just have a clean debt bill? Is he involving himself in politics? Is he taking the original White House position? I'm utterly baffled by Bernanke.
Well, no, it sounds like he's taken the Obama-Geithner position, but obviously he hasn't watched Congress, because we had a vote on that just 2 weeks ago, and only 96 members voted for a clean debt ceiling increase. That's not going to fly. And here's the bottom line. We have to use the leverage associated with this debt ceiling vote to put the country on a path that makes sense, one that's actually sustainable, because the fiscal path we're on will lead to a debt crisis. Now there's virtually, Larry, you know this, virtually consensus among economists, and you can never get economists to agree on anything, but they now virtually all agree that we're going to have a debt crisis in 2 or 3 years if we don't do the bold things that need to be done to put the country on a sustainable fiscal path. And so the Fed's chairman's comments sound a lot like the president, and I think they're frankly not real helpful at this critical moment.
Well, Brad Sherman, you can't tell from the bond market that any debt crisis is coming. In the last couple of months, bonds have gone from just under 4% to about 3%. Brad, people up here in Wall Street want spending and deficit reduction. Aren't you hearing that from the investment types in California? They don't want to just kick the can down the road, do they?
Well, there are plenty of opportunities to work toward a balanced budget. Holding the country's credit limit hostage seems unnecessary, in that every penny we're spending now is pursuant to a spending bill that virtually every Republican voted for. And starting on September 30th, that spending bill runs out, and every penny we spend in October will have to pass a Republican House. To use the debt limit as the leverage point, where they just agreed in April and they've got another hostage opportunity in September, is to make us look, every day that this goes by, we look less like Switzerland and more like Portugal. And that's not good for the investment environment in the United States.
But Jim Jordan, what other leverage do you have? I don't understand this.
No, we don't. And by the way, I didn't vote for the budget we're currently functioning under. I didn't think it was enough for spending reduction. This is the only leverage you have, and the language you use is exactly right, Larry. If we're going to just kick it down the road, you're going to see members, conservative members, not support increasing the debt ceiling. We have to do bold, dramatic things. Cut spending, cap spending, and we believe balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. This is that historic moment where the American people understand things have got to change, and they've got to change in a dramatic way, or we are headed for the same place Greece and Portugal and Spain and Ireland and all these countries we've read about and followed the last couple of years. We are headed down that road if we don't change it. The only leverage we have is this debt ceiling debate that's unfolding right now.
But Brad Sherman, the reports all say, if you guys know differently, for heaven's sakes, tell me, but I don't know who knows. Reports know the Biden talks have settled on $1 trillion of spending cuts so far. Brad, would you vote for $1 trillion in spending cuts?
I don't buy $1 trillion grab bag that I'm not allowed to open first, but I do think that we could.
Is that a no? I mean, I'm asking a direct question.
Wait a minute, Larry, you're asking me here. You know, here I am. And Republican commentators try to beat up Democrats on the theory that they didn't read the health care bill. I read the health care bill.
I'm not beating up. I just want to know.
Now you're telling me
I
should tell you I'm going to vote on $1 trillion bill that you haven't shown me yet. Please let me see it before you ask me to vote.
All right, let me ask you a separate question. Okay, fair enough. I stand fair enough. Okay, I stand remanded by you. Let's suppose you could agree to the specifics in the bill. I know that's a big if, but let's suppose. In your judgment, Brad Sherman, is $1 trillion in spending reduction as part of a debt ceiling increase bill, is that reasonable? Because Mr. Bernanke today sounded like he didn't even want to wait for that. Is it reasonable to you?
Certainly $1 trillion over the right period of time would be reasonable, but the time to deal with spending is when we pass spending bills. The Republicans voted for the spending bill, and now they're saying, well, we need pressure about whether or not we're going to pay the bill. It's like saying, we went to the restaurant, we agreed on what to order, and now we're going to be fiscally responsible by not giving our credit card to the waiter. No, the time to be fiscally responsible is when you place your order. And whatever we ordered, It's the Republicans who ordered it. Now, they've got another pressure point coming up on September 30th.
Right.
We'll use that. I want to use that one too.
And so you've got April. Yes. Well, that's the one you should use.
I want to use them
the
both.
time to control spending is when you're voting on a spending bill. You don't act. If it's not fiscally responsible to say, well, we ordered it, we ate it, and we're going to keep our debt low by not giving the credit card to the waiter.
Jim Jordan, I'll give you the last word.
Well, yeah, I mean, having Democrats talk about fiscal responsibility when we now have the federal government at 24% of gross domestic product. We haven't been there since World War II. So our plan, the Republican study, the conservative plan is cut spending, cap spending, balanced budget amendment, cut, cap, and balance. Those are the kind of bold things that need to happen. The lecture from the Democrats on responsible spending, you've got to be kidding me.
All right.
Larry, I think you invited me on the show on the theory that a Democrat is allowed to have an opinion on budgetary issues.
Yeah, you have an opinion, it's just wrong.
If you take the opinion that anything I say must be wrong because I'm a registered Democrat, then you shouldn't have a registered Democrat on the show.
I talked about your reference to responsible spending, and I said 24% of GDP under Democrat spending. That's where we're at. That's a fact.
This is Republican spending.
You
are the folks that passed the CR.
I didn't vote for the CR, and that's one budget in the last 4 years. You had the last 4.
And you had the tax bill before that. Bold move means cut spending and increase revenue. If we do both those things, we can deal with the situation. If we try to skate by and to say we're going to do all of one and none of the other, not only will we never reach agreement, but without doing both, we're not going to balance the budget.
All right, I got to leave it there. Congressman Brad Sherman, you know I invite you on the show, so you can express your opinion, and that's why we love having you. And Jim Jordan, we want you to express your opinion, too.
I will.
Gentlemen, terrific stuff. Thank you very much. Now, folks, another story.